This is the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, DJI's latest mobile phone gimbal. I've been using the OM6 for the past month paired with an iPhone 14 Pro Max to get a better sense of its features and, more importantly, those who might want to avoid it. The OM6 has a very similar feel and weight to that of its predecessor, the OM5, with only a few simple design changes to improve user experience. Starting off, the Osmo Mobile 6 has a total of 7 inputs if we count the click wheel and its click function separately. Many of the inputs are the same compared to the OM5, but DJI has improved how we interact with these. The old joystick pad is gone and has been replaced with a more traditional joystick, similar to that found on the RS line. This allows for more precise movements using the joystick, including speed depending on how far you push the stick. They have added a new mode button and status screen to quickly see what your gimbal is set up to do or if it's having any trouble. The mode button can be used to toggle between gimbal modes such as follow, tilt locked, FPV, and spin shot by a single press. By triple tapping the mode button, you can put the gimbal into standby mode. The new status screen shows which mode the gimbal is in, but also shows our battery via a simple indicator and gimbal status to show errors or other statuses the gimbal may be in. The most notable design change, in my opinion, is the new auto on-off feature added to increase speed in your workflow. With the addition of Quicklaunch for iPhone, you're able to get set up within just a few seconds. To turn the gimbal on, simply unlock the pan access, which is also new, unfold the gimbal, and the Osmo Mobile 6 will power on and set itself to a ready position. Next, just attach your phone to the gimbal using the included phone clamp. On iPhone, a Mimo notification will pop up, and all you got to do is tap it and it'll launch the Mimo app right into the camera. If Quicklaunch isn't working on your iPhone, tap on the settings button in the menu bar, go to General, and then toggle on Quicklaunch. To turn your OM6 off, just reverse the process. Take your phone off, fold the gimbal up, and lock the pan access, and it's ready for storage. On the left side of the gimbal, you'll notice there is a new jog wheel. This jog wheel is deemed the ZM MF wheel and has 2 different modes. In ZM mode, turning the wheel will allow you to zoom in and out by simply turning the jog wheel. The current zoom level and lens selected on your device can be seen within the Mimo app. Unfortunately, there is a downside to this, as you cannot quickly switch lenses using the physical controls as you did with your OM5 by tapping the zoom slider. However, to precisely choose a lens, you can still click on the larger dots on the zoom indicator in the Mimo app. By tapping the jog wheel, it switches modes and it goes into MF mode. In MF mode, you'll be able to manually choose your focus point. This is a great addition for pulling focus from the background to your subject. But the addition of focus peaking in the Mimo app would be greatly appreciated. It's hard to tell exactly where the focus is. Everything else, with the exception of the dark black color, is nearly identical to the OM5. The record button, it records. The switch button has a number of functions. First, it can be used to switch between selfie mode and rear-facing mode by giving it a single tap. A double tap will switch between vertical and horizontal modes. And last, a triple tap will bring up the quick menu to switch between recording modes, gimbal modes, and access to your latest clip. The trigger button can also be used for different functions. Pulling and holding the trigger will lock the gimbal's axis, allowing you to move in any direction and keep the camera pointed in that same direction. A single tap of the trigger will activate Active Track 5 for tracking a subject that's in the middle of the scene. And last, a double tap on your trigger will recenter the gimbal. DJI has brought back the extension rod, and it can be great for using as a selfie stick while vlogging, getting an elevated shot, or my favorite, using it as an underslung shot. By turning the gimbal upside down, it'll rotate the phone automatically and be ready to use underslung. This can be great for following your subject's feet at a lower perspective, or I often use it while riding my one wheel to get a lower shot and give a greater sense of speed. A tripod is also included with the OM6. Simply screw it into the bottom and use it as an extended handle, or fold out the legs and use it as a tripod. Using the tripod, you can get stable time lapses, place it on a table to film yourself using Active Track 5, or simply just take a break. As you can see, there are many similarities of the OM6 to the previous OM5, but with this is the return of one design flaw that may be a deal breaker for some mobile filmmakers and content creators. Because of the design of the axes on the OM6, there's a very limited tilt axis, which can prove to be difficult for some shots. If you're attempting a jib shot like you would with a more traditional gimbal, you will quickly find that the tilt axis will be forced to tilt up or down depending on how far your movement is. This is also true if you perform a push-in shot and typically extend your arms towards the end of the shot for extra reach. Performing these types of shots will require some adjustments to your movements if you are used to using something like a DJI RS gimbal or a Zhiyun crane. However, it is not impossible to replicate these shots using the Osmo Mobile 6 by following a few quick tips. First, set your gimbal to tilt locked, then slightly extend the extension rod and tilt the pan axis back just like this. You'll need to get a feel for how far to tilt the axis back based on how you typically hold your gimbal and the limits of the tilt axis. Next, grip the gimbal and tilt it forward until that pan axis is level and double tap the trigger to recenter the gimbal. Now you can return your hands back to their normal position. You'll notice that by doing this, we're attempting to utilize the full range of motion from the tilt axis. You may need to experiment with how you hold the OM6 and how far you tilt that pan axis back, but as you can see, it's not impossible to replicate these motions. One of the best features of the OM6 has to be the Mimo app. This app is a great replacement to the stock camera app with many functions such as slow motion, time and hyperlapses, panos, and much more. It allows you to switch to manual mode and choose your FPS if you plan on using filters to get the most out of your camera. Let's take a quick look at the app. If you want a more in-depth look at the app, let me know in the comments below and we'll dig into all the features Mimo has to offer. The menu bar gives you quick access to auto or manual mode, resolution and FPS, glamour mode, and the settings. Towards the bottom of the app, you'll see the current camera settings, exposure values, along with the current zoom level. Along the top or side, depending on how your camera is orientated, is the gimbal and phone's battery levels, flash mode, along with a couple other indicators. Next up is active track. The Mimo app gives you slightly more control of active track. While tapping the trigger is simple to track the subject in the middle of the frame, you can also select and activate active track by simply drawing a box over your subject. The subject will be tracked until canceled or lost. Active Track 5.0 does a really good job at tracking subjects that are easily seen or quickly pass behind small objects, but will lose an object if it passes behind another object and is completely obscured. This can be great for filming yourself in a particular scene or getting shots of yourself moving through a scene. Then there are the modes. The Mimo app gives access to video and photo, pano, story modes, slow motion, dynazoom, time-lapse, and hyperlapses. The pano mode will complete a 3x3, a 240, or a clone me pano, depending on how you wish to use it. Next up is story mode. Story mode allows you to take a set of clips determined by the app. It has stitched all of these together into a quick video. However, keep in mind any graphics or transitions in these cannot be modified along with music, things like that. Slow motion, at least on my iPhone 14 Pro Max, only allows for 1080 8x slow-mo. I haven't seen any settings to change this, even though there are settings in the default camera app. Dynazoom can be used to create a cool effect, either compressing or decompressing the background while leaving your subject in the center of the screen. With time-lapse, you have the ability to change resolution and FPS, set the duration of the time-lapse, which will be the total time it takes to record the time-lapse. The compressed time can be seen to the right of this. You can also set the interval that the app will take the photos, which gives you an idea of which interval to choose for the situation. And finally, you have motion lapse settings. You're able to choose a fixed angle, a right to left or a left to right, and also a custom path with up to 4 points that the gimbal will move during the time lapse. And the last mode is hyperlapse, which will either auto choose the speed to play the hyperlapse, or you can change how quickly you'd like it to speed up the video. While this mode only allows for 1080p on my iPhone, it can still produce really neat clips. The DJI OM6 certainly is not a perfect device, but it is an improvement over the previous model, but that may not warrant an upgrade if you already own an OM5. The usage of the device is nearly identical. I regularly use the OM gimbal for recording vertical videos for real estate clients. In my case, the sleek black color, auto on off, and new inputs make my life just a bit easier, and I'll be keeping this one in my bag and the OM5 as a backup. Even though the axes have a limited range, you can see there are ways to get around this and to get the shots you want with the OM6. If you want to take a look at the 5 gimbal moves that I think you should know for your OM6, take a look at this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.